This is AI.R. Artists in Residence Broadcasting, coming to you once a week from New York City. Hello, I'm John Cullum, and this is my wife, Emily Frankel.
And what are we going to do? We're sitting here. It's a little chilly in here today.
Yeah.
We're sitting here, and we're going to do a post for my blog, M's Talkery.
Okay.
And the subject?
The subject is...
Well, at one point we were not as comfortable in life as we are now. And the subject I'd like to tackle would be from poorer to richer.
Rags to riches.
Or riches to rags.
We were never in rags. We were sometimes a little ragged. But
sometimes we didn't have enough money.
Sometimes when we started off together, you were in debt. I didn't have.
Was I in debt?
I never was in debt because I never had any reason to spend any money.
Well, I had taken the money that I was withholding from my dance company. I had 8 dancers on salary, not a big salary. But instead of paying the withholding,
you had. I remember you were down to $500, and you had what, like $8,000 debt.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what were you going to say about the withholding?
I had taken the withholding tax and used it to pay salaries, so that I owed the government withholding taxes, which you have to pay every month.
That made me very nervous, and I wanted you to pay the whole thing off.
And I said, no. And I made a deal with the government to pay them off a little bit at a time.
Which I would never. I see you have more guts and gumption than I do.
You're pretty gutsy and gumptiony. Okay, so let's talk about how we progressed.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the rags. I remember Christmas, the first Christmas we spent together. Do you?
We had a $5 minimum.
We allotted each other $5.
And I remember what you got me. I loved it.
What was it?
It was a diamond bracelet.
A diamond bracelet?
And it had ambers in it, and it was from the 5 and 10.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
$2.75.
We both went to the 5 and 10. I remember that.
And I bought you a little mouse toy.
Tweaker.
And I called you Tweaker. That was your nickname.
That's right.
Hello, Tweaker.
And I remember the mouse stayed on top of the refrigerator for years.
You were my Tweaker.
That's right.
Hello, Tweaker.
Hello, darling.
Okay, so we progressed. First of all, we had a big problem, which was we were living in this same building, but we didn't own the building, and the landlord kept raising the rent. And that really bugged me.
Oh, man, she went nuts. She'd been living here for some time with a dance company. Can I tell them how much you paid?
Yes, but I wasn't living with the dance company.
No, the dance company.
Okay.
You were paying $125 a month.
Right.
For the entire studio.
Right.
And they raised it to $135.
And I had a fit.
You were beside yourself. And they raised it the next year to $150, and I thought you would be ballistic. Well, the next year, about 3 months before, you started saying they're going to raise it again, and you have to go down and talk to Mr. Frankel.
Mr. Frankel, it was not a relative. He was the man that managed the building. And
the reason why he managed the building was because whenever the landlord, the owner of the building, would come up here to try to get a rent raise out of Emily, instead of getting a rent raise, she would talk him into repainting it or fixing the floors, and he'd walk away empty-handed.
Have you noticed, audience, how John keeps showing you what a shrewd businesswoman I am? And I am not. But stop showing how shrewd I am and get to the point.
Well, the point is that you sent me down to talk to Mr. Frankel because you couldn't talk to him. He had a German accent, and he pretended like he couldn't understand you. So anyway, when they raised it to 175, you said you have to go and get that reduced. So I went down and talked to Mr. Frankel, and he pulled out all these books and said, we can't make any money off you guys because there's so many expenses that have gone up that we have to raise the rent. And I said, Mr. Frankel, I can't go back and talk to my Frankel unless I said, Would you sell me the building?
And that's how we got to own this building. We paid it off gradually. Now, I want to say something.
What?
We really had talked long enough on this subject. There's a timer on this. This is a new machine, and we never had it before.
Right.
But we did progress from rags to riches, and part of it was John Cullum Frankel. I call him John Cullum Frankel. John Cullum Frankel's career blossomed.
Well.
And blossomed.
Well, with your help.
Blossomed. So thank you very much, John Cullum.
Thank you, Emily. And we'll see you next week. This is AI.R. See you next week.